I am Jessica Butts. Welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast, where I help you learn to be unapologetically who you are and live your life from the front seat through personal development, self-awareness, and real and raw conversations about life, love, and business. I'm a former psychotherapist and couples counselor turned author, speaker, coach, and lovingly, well, I hope so anyway, been nicknamed Jessica Kick Butts because I believe sometimes we need hand holding and sometimes we just need to be told the freaking truth, even if it hurts a little. So each week I'll be sharing truth bombs, life lessons, powerful interviews, and intuitive insights to empower you to get up, show up, and live your life in a new, powerful, authentic way. So if you're ready to climb into your front seat and embark on a journey of total transformation, you have come to the right place. Start your engines. Let's do this. Hello, Front Seat Lifers. It is your host, Jessica Butts, and as always, I am super honored to be with you. And I am doing a bunch of episodes. This will be the last kind of in a series of in the moment, like not pre-recorded, doing them in the moment, the last 3 or 4 during COVID, after the launch, just as things are coming up for me. And I knew that there was one more podcast in me. So I did a kind of lessons that I was learning, and then there was Tarzan K, and I talked about the lessons, business and life lessons that came from launching during COVID. And I thought today's episode might be about getting scrappy. So that was the plan about how I got scrappy during a launch. And as I've been sitting with that for probably the last 10 days or so since I've been off and just kind of taking some downtime, this is the most work I've done in about a week, which feels delightful, is not getting scrappy. But what's been coming up for me is this question, is when is enough enough? And I've asked myself this question many times throughout the years. And it's really, really come back up for me strong and powerfully during COVID, during quarantine, during global pandemic, whatever term you're using, in addition to launching during that time. And the idea has a lot of layers to it of when is enough enough. So, in full transparency, as I've promised I would, I went in with huge expectations. So, a launch is like at least a 3-month process. I will be teaching you about that as we transition into business content over May and June. And it's a long process. We started this probably back in December. We're really full into it January, February, and then obviously in March is when COVID struck the world. And I had huge, lofty goals, huge goals. The team was working like crazy. Again, I mentioned this on another podcast that we were on a train, that I quite honestly, I didn't know how to stop there. The team was growing. We were hiring people even during COVID. We were, spending crazy amounts of money to make this launch beautiful and seamless and wonderful and build a beautiful, amazing product, which I'm really, really, really grateful for. The product is amazing, and I'm delighted to actually have something at the end of a launch. So by the way, again, I will be teaching you about course creation. Obviously, Amy Porterfield is the master at it. And I've learned certain things from her and Stu McLaren and Kate Northup and all the people that I follow. And I will be teaching you your way to do things. But before we get into that and before the transition into business, I wanted to have this conversation of when is enough enough? Because, oh my gosh, I'm just going to start crying. Is sometimes things get out of our own control. Sometimes a team, a house, a mortgage, whatever in your life, keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the Amy Porterfields, keeping up with entrepreneurship or people in your mastermind or whatever it is. I think sometimes, and I'm speaking from my own experience, so there's no way that I'm alone in this, is that this comparison thing is, it has a mind of its own. Again, I keep describing it as a train getting out of control. Because that feeling is chasing something that what I've started to realize is maybe I don't want that thing. So I've been living my life unapologetically for about the last 10 years since I graduated from graduate school. And very honestly, don't have any desire to get married again. Sorry, babe. Don't have any desire to get married again and want to live a really kind of unorthodox life, if you will. Again, obviously I don't have any children by choice. There's a lot of little things that I think each one of us can do in this world to live an unapologetic life and live it our way. But I got wrapped up in bigger is better. More money is better. A bigger team is better. Spending more money is better. And what this launch taught me, which is not what I was expecting it to teach me. I mean, I think I've already said this in another podcast, but I'll say it again, is that I thought for sure the lesson out of this was going to be how to have a $250,000 launch during a global pandemic. And I realized it's actually not that interesting, right? I mean, I think the lessons that I've been teaching since then are way more valuable than just the money. And I am being totally open with you guys about this, that what I am learning is that I was buying into a bunch of bullshit that is not my life. I don't want that. I don't. And that's my business. That's my choice. And it had gotten out of control. So I had to ask myself over the last probably 3 weeks or so, kind of during the launch, which was 2 weeks, and now I'm about 10 days post-launch, is when is enough enough? Why is this happening for me, not to me? And what changes do I get to make in my business right now and my life and my business right now that I can make real changes? Because again, this is the opportunity of all opportunities to slow it down and say, okay, everybody stop. Let's reevaluate. What do I really want to do? And as I've talked about in past episodes, is our intuition is our greatest guide. And yes, I have coaches. Yes, I listen to podcasts. Yes, I read books. And then I decide what it is that I'm going to let in. Sometimes I stop reading books. Sometimes I just stop when I'm like, okay, I've had enough, because it's starting to over-influence me. And when we hear people say you need to do it this way versus what I'm going to teach you in Don't Do Stuff You Suck At Entrepreneurial School in June, is you get to decide which way works for you. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes is letting me, Amy Porterfield, Rachel Hollis, Kate Northup for that matter, really anybody, tell you how to run your life or your business when you are the one that should be deciding that. Again, should we educate ourselves? Absolutely. I mean, I'm in a mastermind right now and I can tell that there's a few people in there that could definitely utilize some further education on DCA and memberships with Stu McLaren and things that I've taken and studied. And so, yes, do we need to educate ourselves? Abso-frickin-lutely. And we get to decide when is enough enough? When is your car perfectly fine? When is your house perfectly fine? When is $500,000 enough? When is $50,000 enough? When is enough enough? And we get to ask ourselves that question right now during this global pandemic. I've been off technically only, Thursday, Friday of last week, and today's Wednesday. It's 4/29, April 29th. And I finally am, just like in all vacations, kind of just sinking into being. And for the last 48 hours, I've said out loud in my house numerous times, like, this is so freaking delightful. This is so delightful. To slow down. So here's a couple of things that I want you to consider when you think about when is enough enough. Number one, always, is your type. So as an introvert or an extrovert, how do you want your business to look? As an introvert, do you want to be flying around the country speaking? Maybe, maybe not. If you're an extrovert, do you want to work solely with one-on-one clients, or do groups fill you up? As a sensor or an intuitive, how is it for you to be an integrator or the visionary in your business? And how do you set up your schedule as such? I'll teach you more about this, I promise. Thinking and feeling, judging and perceiving, all of the things. How does your type influence when is enough enough? For example, sensors and intuitives are quite different this way. Sensors live in the moment. They are much, 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 much better, as are Ps, much better at living in the moment. Therefore, they don't always have this hyper vigilance like us intuitives, and especially NJs more than any of the other personality types. NJs have this drive. We have this need to do the next greatest thing because we're think outside the box people. We're always thinking about the future. And the J is we're planning and strategizing and thinking about what's next. Innately, that is who we are. But we still get to ask ourselves, when is enough enough? Because again, sensors are we'll just be like, wow, girl, chill, chill, just slow down, stop. When is enough enough? And so understanding your personality type is a big part of this equation. A big part of this equation. Again, S's are much better at being in the moment. P's much better at being in the moment. N's not so much. Always thinking about what's next. And J's in particular are the worst of all of the types of the archetypes. Because again, they're always thinking about what's next. How can I innovate? How can I be better? How can I reorganize my house? How can I go on vacation? How can I read this book? How can I start a new book? How can I go back to school? How can I, again, what if? Driven. So when is enough is a tough question for NJs. And most of my listeners are NPs and NJs. And so we have that thing in us where it's hard to answer that question, is when is enough? Because innately there is this desire for more and more and more and more. That's number one. Number two are your core values. So if you have not done that exercise yet, you can get this for free at jessicabutts.com/core values. The directions are in there. They're cutout cards. It's an amazing amazing exercise to do with yourself and your spouse, if you have one, or your partner, whatever. So jessicabutts.com/core values. So if I think about my core values, I have 5 of them, and they have not changed in about 7 years. My number 1 core value is freedom by a long shot. And when I think about when is enough enough and how that affects my number 1 core value of freedom, and how being driven and pushing for more and always wanting more and going to the next level and building a team and having to lead clients and a team and all of the things and being in Slack and having my Marco Polo go off and my text and my email and all the things all the time. That's not my example of freedom. Money also provides me freedom as a single woman. That is something that's very important to me, to have freedom, to be able to do what I want to do, say what I want to say, have my own business. Those are things this is why I strive so hard. But again, when is enough enough? Is $500,000 enough? Or do I need $1 million to have the 2 things that are important to me? Financial abundance, to have freedom, but also then have freedom of my life. These are really, really important questions. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to tell you what's right, because that is you have to decide that for yourself. And that's why I'm giving you these kinds of things to think about. This is not something that you're going to write these down and be like, oh, I've got the answer. When's enough enough? These are pondering kinds of questions that I think change and evolve. So do the core values and then decide, is my lifestyle around my core values? And if it's not, you're likely going to need to change them. Is family one of your number 1 core values, yet you're spending 80 hours a week working? Well, that's incongruent. And my want and need for independence and freedom and my desire to be off more and, to use Kate Northup's language, to do less, to work, 3.5 days a week versus, 5 or 6. How is that in alignment with my core values? How is yours in alignment with your core values? So that's number 2. Number 3 is an obvious one, but it's your lifestyle. Are you 25 and single and on this forward momentum? Are you 46 and wanting to slow down a little bit? Do you have 2 littles at home? What's your circumstances? What is your lifestyle? What is important to you? I mean, for example, Kate Northup, who's my coach, she's got 2 little kids at home and no childcare during COVID and running a business. Obviously, enough is different for her than it is for me. As a married person, it might be different if you're married versus me, who's, I've got to do this on my own. These are just things we have to ask ourselves. All right, guys, I have a really, hopefully amazing thing for you guys. So I am done doing the launch, which was wonderful and exhausting, and we're off to an amazing start in the Live Unapologetically course. And now I get to open up a couple of private half-day intensives with me. These are for people who want to get some shit done. This is for individuals who just need a life overhaul. These are for businesses, for sure, for business owners that need, basically you're starting out, you need to restructure, you need to start all over. you need to pivot, whatever it is. But this is 3 hours with me. I am doing a COVID special right now. It's $500 off the normal price. You can email at support@jessicabutts.com to find out more information about that. I basically only take, 3, 4, 5 of these at a time, and we spend 3 hours diving in. And you can imagine I get down to business. This is an amazing opportunity for us to meet, unfortunately over Zoom, but when we're out of COVID, we'll be able to do it in person. That's why we're doing $500 off right now. And we just deep dive. We just map shit out. I basically take all my psychotherapy skills. I listen, I hear what's going on, and then I boss you around and tell you exactly what you need to do. You can purchase a one-off, or you can actually get a deeper discount and do them once a quarter for an entire year. This is probably my favorite thing to do because I love digging deep. I love putting my psychotherapy hat on. I love hearing what's going on with people, assessing, and then doing a deep dive into what I think needs to happen next. So I would love to spend 3 hours with you. Again, to apply, send an email over to support@jessicabutts.com, and we will take a look and see if this might be a good fit for you. All right. I'm going to tell a pretty personal story here. Whew, this is a doozy of a personal story. So during my 40th birthday trip, my husband and I were in Maui, and that is the trip that actually I told him, I didn't want to be married to him anymore. Actually, that's not true. It's when we came home from that, but the writing was on the wall during that trip. It was horrific. And we were on a walk, and one morning, and I was a couple steps ahead of him for some reason. And he said, I will never forget this moment, by the way, until the day that I die. I will never forget this moment. There was a lot of issues going on with us, but this was just one of the many. He said, slow down. And in my head, I literally screamed at the top of my lungs, I can't. Because I was 40. He was recently sober. And I had just started my business. I was on this massive forward momentum. I felt like I had just been unchained. I had been, he's finally sober. I've just graduated from graduate school. I am fucking ready to change my life. I am just getting started, bro. Just getting started. You cannot stop me right now. All I wanted to do was go, build, do all the things. And that's what I've spent the last 7 years doing. I'm almost 47. And for 7 years, that's what I've been choosing to do. And I thought about this story the other day because I thought, wow, I'm almost caught up to where he was. And I don't know if he's there anymore, but in that moment, he was in a place where he wanted a simpler life. He wanted to slow down. He was recently into sobriety and, needed to feel what that was. And I just remember thinking we're in polar opposite places in our lives right now because all I want to do is work. I have this new graduate degree. I'm starting a psychotherapy practice. I've got a book in me. I could see basically the next 7 years in front of me. And all I wanted to do was grow and grow and grow and grow and do the thing. And so you have to look at your lifestyle. What is it that you want right now? What is it? Do you have littles? Are you recently single like I was about to be? Are you ready to go back to graduate school? Are you ready to slow down? What is it? And again, nobody can tell you this but you. You even in your own relationship might be in different places, and that's okay too. You get to have that conversation with each other. I have a wonderful, wonderful dear friend. Her husband's quite a bit older than her. And for a couple of years, like he was so ready to retire and she just wasn't ready. And they spent beautiful years like discussing this. And now they're finally there. I actually just saw her the other day and dropped her off some birthday flowers from a good social distance. And I stood in the driveway while, she stood in the doorway, and we just talked about how beautifully patient they were with each other about what they wanted next in life, because she just wasn't quite there yet. So when is enough may be different based on, again, number one, your type. Number two, your core values. By the way, your personality type is an N. You're always going to want more. So you need to learn how to check that. And then core values. And then number three is this lifestyle, age and kids. Where are you in your life? So I want to leave you with, what are you chasing and why are you chasing it? What are you chasing and why are you chasing it? If you're chasing your core values, good on you, sister. Good on you. Good on you. That's what we should be chasing. We should be chasing alignment. We should be chasing in alignment with our type, in alignment with our core values, not what someone else describes or tells us it should be. I'm so sick of that shit. I'm so sick of it. I'm going to go on a rampage the next couple of months of just teaching you how to run your business from a place of true authenticity. Don't do stuff you suck at is all for intuitive types, to teach you how to run a business the way you want to run it. And that might be speaking. That might be courses. That might be groups. That might be one-on-one. It might be all online. It might be memberships. There's a bunch of different ways you can do things. You have to decide. And then you've got to ask yourself, when is enough enough? And are we chasing fame? Are we chasing fortune? Are we chasing someone else's lifestyle that might not even be what we want? Are we chasing a house or money, or what is it for you? Like I know the last thing that I need, because I have a beautiful home I love. I'm in a wonderful relationship. I have amazing friendships, a wonderful relationship with my mom. The last thing that I need and want is a place in Maui. And the only reason I say that is just because I've wanted it for my whole life. And so the question becomes, what do I need to do to get that thing? When is enough enough? How much shit do I need at Target? How much shit do I need in other places? If what's important to me are my core values, relationships, this dream that I have. Again, not everybody has that. Your dream might be to have a multi-million-dollar business and a huge team. Great. But it might not be too. And yet we're all seem to be chasing this thing, this status quo, this whatever it is. And I truly mean this. I think a way, way, way sexier way to live your life is defining it on your own terms. Like I find alternative living the coolest thing ever. Like maybe you're married and you don't live together. Maybe you never get married again. Maybe you raise your children in a super cool and unique way. Maybe you live bi-coastal. Maybe you live in a, I don't know, whatever it is. Those aren't even all that interesting, but whatever your way is, the way that you run your business, the way that you live your life, That is always enough. When you die, what will you regret? Will it be, chasing the thing? Or will it be so good to say, I lived my life in alignment? I don't know about you, but that's like, this is my thing. I just want to live in alignment. Authentically, powerfully, awesomely, happy, with ease and grace, and in alignment with who I am. And if you're new to this podcast and you don't know what it means to be who you are, there's 68 episodes ahead of this. There's a Live Unapologetically course up on my website. It's ready for you. That would probably be the best place. So I leave you with that, my friends. I leave you with that. I will see you next week. All right, everybody, here is today's type tip. This is a funny one. I love this one. So it is a fact that introverts are internal processors and extroverts are external processors. I've joked about this for years in all of the presentations I give. I always say that if I ever was to go back and get my PhD, I would want to crack open the skulls of these introverts and look for this said filter. This filter that all these introverts always talk about. Because quite honestly, extroverts do not have this filter. You know how you're sitting next to an extrovert, you might be in a cubicle with them, you might be in an office with them, you might live with one of them, and things just fly out of their mouth. They may be reading an email and oh gosh, oh my goodness. Like right there, they're external processing the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, because they don't first filter things. Where introverts filter things before they say it. Just naturally. It's not even part of your consciousness. It's just how we are created. Introverts have an internal filter that extroverts do not have. So when you are with the opposite type, 50% of the population, you've got to be aware that it doesn't mean that they're not processing information as quickly as you are. They are just doing it inside, internally, where again, extroverts are just talking and talking and talking and talking. I have this wonderful group of 4 friends. There's 2 introverts and 2 extroverts. And the extroverts is, it's just easier for us. We get together and we just go for it and ramble and talk and do all the things. And every once in a while, I have to remind the other extrovert to be like, okay, we are not hearing from the 2 introverts because they may very well have things to say, but sometimes the 2 of us can just get going so much that we don't often take time to hear from the other 2. So again, introverts are internal processors. They have it in there. They just need time to think about it and have time to process it before they share it. And extroverts are sometimes incredibly annoyingly so external processors, and they say things and emote things before they think about them. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, there's a couple ways that you can do that. First is always starting with your personality assessment tool. It's available on my website at jessicabutts.com. It's totally free, and it will help you figure out your personality type so you'll have some idea of what we're talking about. Next is, if you're interested in hiring me for a keynote or some coaching or strategy days or the fabulous and amazing Front Seat Life community, you can find out all about all of that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.